My name is Emily Rhodes, and I married into the Parker family thinking I was joining a normal upper-middle-class clan that happened to be a little snobby. What I didn't realize was that my husband Ethan's relatives were the type of people who measured human worth in the number of startup shares on your tax return. For 2 years, I brushed off their passive-aggressive comments. Ethan's mom calling my public college cute, his dad joking that my salary as a pediatric nurse was volunteer work, and his sister Amber asking if I ever felt embarrassed sitting at the grown-up table with people who actually ran things. Ethan always told me to ignore it, that they didn't mean harm, and that his family was just a little intense. But the day I met his Aunt Claudia, things went from annoying to straight-up insulting. Claudia was the daughter of some tech titan worth billions, and she walked in like she expected the world to bow at her feet. With her designer dress, 4 assistants, and diamond earrings that could pay off my entire mortgage, she looked me up and down like I was a grocery store cashier who wandered into a black-tie gala by mistake. We were invited to a dinner at their estate. Chandeliers, glass staircases, private chefs, the whole money is oxygen lifestyle. As soon as we sat down, Claudia smirked and asked, "So, Emily, Ethan tells us you only have a bachelor's degree?" Before I could answer, her mother chimed in, "Oh, sweetheart, I'm sure you tried your best." Then her father said, without even looking at me, "Well, some people contribute with intellect, and some contribute with moral support." Everyone laughed except me and Ethan. It didn't stop there. They grilled me about my background, my job, my family, my clothes. Claudia even asked if my necklace was real or sentimental. Ethan squeezed my hand under the table, whispering, "Just let it go, babe." But I was boiling inside. Finally, when Claudia asked if I ever felt insecure marrying so far above my economic bracket, I calmly replied, "Not at all. In fact, I was thinking about transferring some of my investments this month." Suddenly, their heads snapped toward me like I barked. Claudia snorted and said, "Oh, please, honey, you don't need to pretend. You don't have the kind of funds that move markets." Her father added, "If she had real money, trust me, we'd know." And that's when Ethan jumped in, trying to save face, saying, They're just joking. Don't make threats." Threats. That's what he called it. So I just smiled and said, "You're right. Let's not discuss it." But something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to keep letting these pretentious people measure me by a college degree or what brand my shoes were. Because what they didn't know, what I never flaunted, never bragged about, never weaponized, was the truth. I was the only child of the founder of Rhodes Logistics, a transportation empire my dad had built from scratch, then sold 5 years ago for nearly $1 billion. Before he passed, he placed the majority of his assets into a trust, with me as the sole beneficiary. I had kept quiet because I wanted a normal life, a normal marriage, and a chance to be judged for who I was, not what I had. But that night, I realized these people would never see me as anything more than the nurse Ethan married. The next week, they invited us to another gathering, and I accepted. They thought it was because I wanted their approval. No, I wanted their silence. They were hosting some networking event for tech investors, hundreds of wealthy people, venture capitalists, founders, the whole Silicon Valley cosplay. As soon as I walked in, people stared because Claudia had clearly been gossiping. When I overheard her whisper, "Just smile, she's harmless," something icy in me woke up. 5 minutes later, I approached the bar, pulled out my phone, logged into my private investment portfolio, and requested a transfer. Not a pretend one, not a symbolic one, a real one. I withdrew $250 million from my managed account, an amount significant enough that the bank instantly called my managing advisor. And wouldn't you know it, Claudia was standing right beside me, smug as ever. She leaned over, glanced at the screen, and suddenly went pale. Her jaw literally dropped. She stammered, Is that real?" I smiled sweetly and said, "I don't have the intellect your family has, but thankfully my dad had enough for all of us." Within minutes, her parents approached, suddenly warm and nauseatingly friendly. Her father asked if I'd like to discuss potential investment collaborations. Her mother took my hand like we were lifetime friends, and Claudia looked like she'd swallowed a cactus. Ethan stared at me like he'd never seen me before. I could see the shock, embarrassment, maybe even fear swirling in his expression. Then her dad said the words that sealed their fate. "Emily, we had no idea you were someone of value." Value. As if my worth had magically increased because they saw a number. I leaned forward and with the calmest tone I've ever used replied, "I was valuable before you saw the money. You were just too arrogant to recognize it." Then I added, loud enough for their guests to hear, "And just so you know, I'll be moving the full balance to another bank tomorrow. I wouldn't want my money associated with people who judge others based on what they think they have." The room fell silent. Claudia's mother's face collapsed. Her father actually reached out like he thought he could stop me with a touch. Ethan followed me outside, stunned, angry, embarrassed, asking why I never told him why they made them look stupid. I said, "They mocked me, you let them. That's why." That night, we didn't go home together. 4 months later, I divorced Ethan. His family tried reaching out, apologizing, even offering collaborations, but I never responded. A year later, Claudia's family company crashed in the market, and her father desperately reached out again. I thought about replying, but decided silence was better revenge. They didn't need an answer. They already knew. I was the one they thought was worthless, until the truth made them choke on every insult.